Okay, so the title of this video is Why You're Wrong About Farming. While you may not be wrong, the UK government sure as hell are. For those who might not be fully aware, the government has introduced a new inheritance policy targeting farmland, and it's being sold to us as a way to tackle wealthy landowners. But let me tell you, the reality is far from that. This policy strikes at the very heart of Britain's rural communities and threatens the future of our food security. So let's break it down. First off, full disclosure, I voted Labour and I still believe they're trying to do the right thing, investing in infrastructure and finding funds for public services. But on this issue, they've completely fucked up. And you don't have to take my word for it, just switch on the news and farmers and industry experts and countless others are all sounding the alarm. Now, I'm no farmer, I live in the city and I'm no tax expert, but I am someone who understands that governments sometimes have to make unpopular decisions. But this one is a disaster in the making. Let's talk about what this actually means for farmers. The government claim that this tax will only affect a small number of farms, but speak to anyone in farming and they'll tell you that that's bullshit. The policy doesn't just nudge the wealthy, it targets small to medium-sized family farms, the very backbone of our rural economy and our national food supply. Here's the reality, farmers don't have piles of cash lying around. Their wealth is tied to the land they work and the livestock they care for, and the equipment they need to keep running. Most of the income is reinvested back into the farm. So when they're hit with a big tax bill that they can't pay, what are their options? Sell the land, the machinery, the livestock? For many, that's financial ruin. And let's be absolutely clear, it's not the wealthy landowners or the corporate giants who will feel the sting from this tax. They've got the liquidity, the expensive accountants, and the diversified incomes. Even with the increase to 20%, they're still paying 50% less than the rest of us. Just let that sink in. Those whose land doesn't contribute a single loaf of bread or a pint of milk take a tax break, while the actual farmers who are working 24/7 are getting crushed. It's fucking outrageous. Now let's look at what happens next. Imagine a family farm worth $3 million under this policy. They'll face an inheritance tax bill of $400,000, but farmers don't have that kind of money lying around. Well, sell some equipment, you may say. Sure, but then how am I going to farm? Well, sell some livestock. Great, except that's how I make my livelihood. All right then, sell some of that land. You got loads of it. But that's where it gets really messy, because the second they sell off parts of their farmable land, their already razor-thin profit margins sitting at around 0.5 to 1% are gone. And then what? The billionaires and corporate giants swoop in, snapping up all the land, and they don't want to farm it like these generational families. They want to monopolise the food industry. They want to claim tax breaks and offset their carbon footprints. It's happening right now globally, and this policy gives them the green light to do the same in the UK. Let's not kid ourselves, governments are spineless when it comes to taxing massive corporations. They're terrified that companies like Amazon and Google might pack up and leave, taking jobs with them. So instead, they pass the buck onto small businesses and individuals, and now farmers. Meanwhile, they can continue to exploit the loopholes. And farmers are already on their knees. Take the carbon tax on fertilisers, for example. It's supposed to reduce emissions, but farmers need fertilisers to grow crops. So in reality, all it's actually done is made farming more expensive. Compounding this issue is the influx of cheap, low-standard imports flooding our market. These imports are not subject to carbon tax, nor do they meet the renowned food standards upheld by UK farmers. As a result, British farmers are now forced to compete at a disadvantage. And it's this competitive disadvantage, created by our own government, that is fucking shocking. Farmers are being squeezed from all sides, and this inheritance tax feels like it's the final straw. And here's the kicker. This policy wasn't even in the government's election manifesto. They promised not to increase agricultural inheritance taxes, and now they've done exactly the opposite. It's a betrayal, plain and simple. And as Jeremy Clarkson put it, the government could have used a sniper rifle to target wealthy individuals and corporations exploiting tax loopholes. Instead, they've grabbed a blunderbuss and blasted hard-working farmers who can least afford it. And let's not pretend this is just about farmers. It's about all of us. If this policy goes ahead, we're going to see fewer family farms, with more land ending up in the hands of billionaires and corporations. That's going to lead to higher food prices, because when corporations control the market, they're going to squeeze it. And then greater reliance on imports, leaving us vulnerable to global supply issues and lower quality food. Do you really want to hand control of your food to a corporate giant? Because that's exactly where we're heading. If we let this policy go unchallenged, it won't just hurt farmers, it's going to hurt all of us. The government really need to rethink this. Supporting our farmers on this will secure Britain's future and our food security and our self-reliance.